bring them. All right, so for those coming online, the Facebook Live audience, we are here at Richardson Plano Networkers. This is our last meeting of 2019 and our last opportunity for training. And for those of you who've been around for a while, this is the third year. I started doing this process. It's actually the 10th year I've been doing it with clients and people. This is a process that I developed along with another partner of mine out in San Diego, and we kind of refined. It's called, this is now the 2019 year in review, and that's what we're going to talk about. Some people that's a scary proposition, some people it's something that you just like to avoid, and let's set some resolutions for 2020, all those kinds of things. All I will tell you is resolutions are a bad idea.
Amen.
Resolutions do not work, and resolutions actually set you up for not accomplishing even the things that you aren't making resolutions for, because you abandon it. On average, people abandon resolutions within a few days, if not weeks. So you can tell it if you work out, if you go to a gym, the gym's going to be full right after January 1st because people have all kinds of resolutions to work out every day or whatever. And I don't worry about that. I don't get stressed because the gym's full and I can't get my routine in, because I know they'll be gone in at least in no more than a week or so. And then I'll have plenty of room because I'm committed. It's the other reason why I will tell you that diets don't work. Resolutions about your relationships don't work. Resolutions about where you're going to live or how much money you're going to have or how much business you're going to have or what you're going to do don't work. Now, that may sound controversial to you, but if you stick with me a little bit and we go through this workbook. Now, what I'm going to do today is we're not going to walk through every part of the workbook, but looking at what I did for you in 2017 and what I did in 2018, this is actually going to be a merger of those two, plus an evolution of that from where I'm at. So I want to talk about making 2019 the launchpad for your 2020 success. Is that a reasonable thing to do?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Y'all willing to go on that journey with me? If you're on Facebook Live and you get frustrated because you don't have this workbook, I'm going to make an offer to you right now. Make a comment in the thing and send me a direct message in this video feed with, if I don't have your email that you want me to send, I'll send you a PDF of this workbook. Okay, just because I really want everybody in my network, which is pretty large, both virtually and in person. So I want you to have this opportunity. I want you to really realize how powerful your 2019 has been. How many of you think that 2019 was the best year ever for you? Yeah, it's okay. No, I actually that's good. Because the reality of it is, it's the fact that everybody their hands just didn't shoot up. It's kind of like the same reason when anybody asks me, I don't know how you respond, but I got some people that think, okay, how's it going, or how you doing, right? And you say, oh, I'm wonderful, or I'm, and some people haven't learned anything, and they want to tell you how sick they've been and what they're doing, and they don't even realize that you don't care. But they'll tell you anyway. The point is, when you're saying, responding, doing things on a day-to-day basis, you need to pay attention to what you're saying and what you're thinking. And when I say, who knows what I always say when somebody says, how's it going? Or how are you? Anybody know what I always say? It has always in it. There's only two words. Always good. I'm always good. That's not egotistical. That's not something that you should be offended by. That's like not me saying I'm better than you, not at all. That's about saying that I know, even if it doesn't come to mind at that point in time, there's always good things going on. There's something good about me. I happen to be a Christian. I know that if nothing else is good about me, I have the Spirit of God living in me. Okay? I'm not going to preach to you today, but I'm just telling you that if I can't think of anything else, I know that I'm always good. Doesn't mean that the environment around me is always good. Doesn't mean that the experiences that I had, in the last 24 hours is good. But you understand where I'm going here? I'm only saying that as a backdrop here because everybody here is an entrepreneur in some form. You may have a small business, a large business, maybe a solopreneur, but you're an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs set goals and we move forward and we don't just, hey, Randy Sablik, my hero, you made it. Awesome, let's give Randy a hand. If you'd have got here earlier, I wouldn't have been a one-man show. So
I tried.
I can't tell you how excited I am to see you.
My doctor's talks long.
So, but yeah, it's great. So for those on Facebook Live, this is a reason to be in the room because we have a celebrity in the room. So anyway, thank you for making the effort. You don't know how much I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
So anyway, Randy's actually, it's interesting because I was looking at 2017, 2018, 2018 to 2019. Randy's actually been here for each of those talks, and so he'll have the opportunity. In fact, let me give Randy one of these. If you can pass this back to Randy, he already knows. He's seen this before, and but I'm excited. I think, like I said, so as you're going through, because we're entrepreneurs, because we have high expectations for ourselves, and I know most of you. This isn't a huge room. Our studio audience here is intimate, but everybody's supposed to be here is here. You maybe should be here, but you'll get to watch it on Facebook Live. The thing is that I've learned is that everything is an evolution. And as an entrepreneur, I always want to be focused forward. So you're always focused forward. If you get focused backwards, which is easy to do, as I taught in the Vision Challenge and other talks, as we went through the Vision Discovery process, which is, by the way, one of my accomplishments that we'll talk about in a minute that I was able to do this year. I have a lot of things tied up in what I do that in terms of this whole process. This year's been a great year. But it's easy to get focused forward, and then it's also easy for those things. The things that you're going to remember going forward, if you're a zombie or if you're just letting your subconscious mind take over, are the things that you didn't do this year. And that's why you heard my critique of resolutions, because what happens with resolutions is those are rooted in the things, usually in the emotions or the things that you didn't accomplish, the things that you failed at, the things that really create fear and obstacles in your mindset going forward that you don't even realize. So those resolutions are based upon doing something you didn't do last year that you already failed at, probably. Whether it's losing weight, whether it's getting more customers, whether it's improving the relationship with your spouse, whether it's your spiritual, any number of things. So the most important foundational launch pad for your success for 2020 is to take stock of what you did accomplish. Remember when I talk about building your bridge from the future. If you don't know what that means, we need to have a one-on-one. We'll go through and I'll talk to you and we'll talk about creating and going through the vision discovery process. And when you go through that, when you know where you want to be, it's easy to say, okay, I'm not there yet. You ever have kids in the car and you're going down the road and they say, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And how much that drives you crazy. Well, guess what? We go through the same thing. Mm-hmm. We have aspirations for our business, right, Zip? Yep. We have things in our lives that we want to be there. And when we're not there, it's easy to focus on, well, why didn't we get there? And I'm not saying that learning from your past or learning from your mistakes is the wrong thing, but the thing is, you've built some bricks on your bridge. Remember I said, how do you build your bridge from the future? It's one brick at a time. You got to break it down. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is doing that for the bridge that you've built in 2019. Okay? Does that make sense? Is that worthwhile? And then when we talk about 2020, we can begin to lay out what bricks we're going to put on bridge from the future going forward in 2020. So let's talk about that. So what we want to do here today, and in this process, so when you're looking at your workbook, and you can look at the beginning, some of the narrative in the beginning describes this, so you don't have to write this down. You can make notes. If I say something profound, you can write it down. But the thing is, a lot of this stuff is right in the book. Okay, so it's right in the beginning. And so first of all, I want you to capture and recognize your wins. Now, what is a win? A win is not I met my goal of financial independence. It's not my, I lost my 65 pounds and my goal weight. It might be, but it doesn't have to be. One of the biggest challenges you're going to have, and I remember I was watching one of the videos, and I don't remember if it's last year, Randy, or the year before, but I said, did you get, and I'd given this workbook out and this first step out, and the assignment was go through and get your 50 wins. I will tell you, there's no way, not any way possible, that you can't list 50 wins that you've accomplished over the last year. Because wins are not just the big things, they're the little things. They're the, did I spend more time? I mean, there's a lot of big things in your life that you discount because you're an achiever, you're an entrepreneur. It's easy for you just to discount. So I want you to first capture and recognize the wins that you've had over the last year, big or small. Okay?
Seems to me the very first win is I survived 2019.
Precisely. No, it's really good. The thing is, it's like at Thanksgiving, one of the times, I sat down and count my blessings. And there's so many blessings, there's so many things that we overlook. We take for granted. The fact that I'm still standing, the fact that I haven't spent the year in a hospital, and it's not relative to somebody else, it's relative to me. But the thing is, the fact that I haven't had to deal with it, interestingly enough, one of my wins this year was my now 4-year-old granddaughter did a spiral fracture on her femur. You say, how could that be a win? Because I got to see her last weekend, and she's running around and playing and everything else. And in May, when my daughter gave birth to now my 7-month-old granddaughter, I was able to go out there and spend a week and help her through the process. And so the wins are also not just in things that you set out to do, but they have to be real and in the context of the rest of your life. You understand what I'm saying? It's not only comprehensive. We'll talk about the components of that when I get into step 2 in the book, or in the workbook. But the thing is, life is going to come at you in this next year, and you're going to have goals and targets and things you want to achieve. And there's going to be things that come in each of the areas of your life that you're going to have a win with because you overcame those things. Does that make sense? Are you with me? Okay, so when you look at 2019, you look back at 2019, and for one of these, I'm encouraging you to do that, is what are the things that you overcame this year? So capture those wins. We'll talk about it a little more. We talked about counting your blessings. I want you to be grateful. I want me to be grateful. I want to realize that I'm thankful. Some of the things in my life, and anybody who's been around has as much history or even more history than me, or even a little bit less that's properly tuned in, will say, the things that I thought were the worst things that happened in the years in my past are many times the best things that ever happened to me because they broke me out of my comfort zone. They made me adapt or do things that I wouldn't have done otherwise, right? And so again, taking stock and realizing you have a lot to be thankful. I have a lot to be thankful for. We have a lot to be thankful. The other thing is, this is a proven process. I did a workbook for myself. I would never give you something to do, and I know Bill, other people that are coaches. If you're a mentor or a coach and you don't have a mentor and a coach, you're not somebody that you should ask people to engage. If I offer you something in a presentation or this workbook and I'm not doing it myself,
Yeah.
I have no right to do that. So I'm telling you, this is proven. If you find somebody that's done this and said it didn't work, all I can tell you is I've got hundreds of people that have gone through this, and I go through it all the time, and it works for me.
Yeah.
So a lot of things don't work if you don't work, okay? This is, if you do what I'm suggesting, I know that it will work for you in some form. In some form that will move you forward and become your Launchpad for 2020. So that's your foundation. We want you to realize the benefits are, you'll realize your accomplishments. You'll have a positive winning mindset, hopefully. You realize that going after this, you can move forward. It'll bring focus on your wins, not just your setbacks, not just the things that, and again, some of the setbacks that you experienced this year, that maybe when you were coming into this training, you thought, okay, I didn't do what I wanted to do because I had that setback. Okay, the reality is you have overcome that. You're here. You're still here at the end of the year, and you're still standing. May not be standing as tall, may have had to get up off the floor a couple times. It doesn't matter. The fact is, you overcame. That's why I'm so excited to see Randy here. I don't need to pick on anybody, but I love you, and I'm so excited because he's had some major things that he's dealing with, and I'm not going to out him on that, but most of you know we've been praying for him and things like that. And the fact that he's here says that's a major win.
Yeah.
There's major wins in everything that I could list probably 100 wins for Randy just because I know him. If I took the time to do that, right? So I want you to have confidence for the future. I want you to know that the things that you do in step 3 in this workbook, you know that you can do those things, or you can move forward on your bridge from the future, right? You can get to the next mile marker. You may not get to the destination. You're not 100% living your ideal day, but you'll be living a closer version to what your ideal day is at the end of 2020, if you set out to do that, than you were when you ended 2019. And the thing is, one of the foundational reasons you'll know that is because I'm further ahead in 2019 than I was when I ended 2018. You with me? Interesting thing was when I was looking at my video from 2017 to 2018, those of you know I started off 2017 saying I wanted a 6-pack abs. Okay, I hate to keep using that example, but I can tell you, I was watching that video and guess what I said? I said, one of my wins is that I now working every day, I'm healthier, my metabolic age dropped a year, and I lost 30 pounds. Now, how many know that that's not my current story in 2019? In 2019, I've lost 65 pounds.
Wow.
I am 5 years younger in my metabolic age, and I take no pharmaceutical medications, which I was taking 6 at the time I recorded that video from 2018. You with me? So it is a journey. And the thing is, if I wasn't self-aware and observant and going through a process like this, at least on an annual basis, and I'll talk to you about how it's really done and how I'm really working with clients, because this is just kind of like it's like annual planning. Anybody work in the corporate world where you develop I did for 30 plus years, and we did an annual plan, right? But annual plans a lot of times end up on the shelf. And then next year you revisit it and you say, well, did I or didn't I? But they're not in your daily practice. So part of the thing is the reason this is a Launchpad, it'll change what you experience in 2020, is if you do what we talk about step 3, which is determine what bricks you're going to build and where you want to be at the end of 2020. It's a whole year. So, and then we'll get general and specific there. We want to give you confidence in the future. And then the other thing is, I would encourage you, and I do this all the time, whether you're in the Business Growth Network, whether you're in Richardson Plano Networkers, whether you're a client of mine, whether you just got a buddy in the room, I don't care. Connect with a winning community of people that are kind of aligned with you, go in a similar direction, and those kinds of things. And this will give you a good basis. That's what I always tell them. The strength of a person who's gone through the vision discovery process is they're the strongest person in the room because they know why they're there. They know the value that they can provide to the room. And by the way, that's why you're here in a networking group. If you're not here to provide value to the group, you're here for the wrong reason. If you're here just to get value out of the group or get sales, you don't understand networking. And you don't understand how to use networking to build your business, okay? I'm not gonna get into that. I teach networking as well, but that's the thing that I want you to do. So, the other thing is, part of it is, why don't we do this easily? Why do we have to have a year in review process? And that is the Overlook, where we minimize our accomplishments and maximize our failures. That is a normal thing. Why? Why is that? I've told you before, I'm not going to ask you to respond because this isn't a test, but I will tell you that you're 95, you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 90%, 95% of those are the same thoughts you thought yesterday. The ones that will come without work to your conscious mind are the things that have the most emotional impact, and potentially in your subconscious mind and now your conscious mind are things that you're going to seek most to avoid in the future. And you tend to amplify those things. You tend to make those setbacks or those obstacles or the failures that you had over the last year bigger than they are. That means in 2020, if you just relax and let your mind go forward and say, okay, now it's a new year, forget about that. No, you don't forget about that. That 95% brain is still remembering all the failures. So if you don't make an effort, just like I said, if you don't make an effort to run your program on the vision of your future, guess what? Your history becomes your destiny. Do you understand? 95% of your thoughts, and why, I mean, everybody knows that your thoughts affect your outcomes, right? Your thoughts drive your actions drive your habits drive your outcomes drive your destiny. So if you don't act on that, so that's part of what we're doing here, is acting on it. Achievers expect performance, and we want to look at that, and so again, that's great. Don't want to stop that at all. We should be seeking to improve and move forward. As I always say, focus forward. But that takes work too, and that's what we're doing here. Evaluate the team. Look at the people around you, okay, that helped you. As you're going through this process, I'm going to give you a challenge, and Zip, I would give you, we'll talk about this more, but the thing is, think about the people that helped you have that win. Make a conscious effort. It's not something that I focused on as much, but think about the people that helped you get that win, and make a point to, number one, connect with those people, acknowledge their contribution, and then make a plan to associate more with that person and those types of people that helped you last year. Because we tend to sometimes get wrapped up in the things we didn't achieve, right? And we forget about the people that helped us, even if it's just a small win. We not only discount ourselves, but we discount other people, right? There's people that have maybe moved the needle in your life in ways you don't even make a point to think about. And I would just tell you, the way to have happiness is to continually be grateful, continually be giving, and to continually be growing. And you're here growing in your education. That's what Mako had said in his things. He's committed, and why he loves getting up in the morning and doing what he did. I heard what he said, and I believe that's true in his life, is he's excited because he's always learning. He's usually here for this session. So is Don, so is some of you. You're here because you've been in business a long time, and you know that's not an easy thing to sustain, right? So, first step is brainstorming. Go to your workbooks. When you look at that first step, if you can indulge me and trust me a little bit, all I will tell you is there is a reason for the process. So don't take step one or skip step one, or get halfway through step one and then jump to step two, okay? And don't reverse engineer. Don't go to step three and then reverse engineer back. Because I know there's a preponderance of people that will do that. So step one is real simple. If you've gone through the vision challenge, it's a two-step process. One is discovery, getting it out of your head and on paper, discovery, unqualified, unedited, whatever, that's called brainstorming. Get it out on paper, get it out of your head, don't edit it, don't critique it, don't analyze it, get it out. That's what you're doing here. 50 wins. Don't judge whether it's worthy of being on the paper. If it listen to me, trust me on this. If it comes to your mind it's worth putting on paper, I don't care what it is. I don't care how big it is, how little it is, if it really matters in the big scheme of things. I don't care how you want to justify, right? So write it down. 50 wins. And if you get on a roll, which I did, I have over 100 on my own that I listed for this year. I've done it a few times, and so I've got that muscle built a little bit. And I started listening to that, and I remembered things that I hadn't remembered before. So that's what you do in the first step. Does that make sense? Any questions on what to do or what not to do? It should be pretty simple. Now, if you came here, Tiffany, you had it before. Did you write some wins down? How many did you get? This isn't a test. This isn't.
Well, I forgot to go this way, so.
It doesn't matter.
16, but it only took me like a few minutes, so you can come.
Okay, so it's a few minutes, you got 16.
Mhm.
You know, and again, this is very important. You say, well, what's the difference? 50, 49, no. It's kind of like when I work out and I'm trying to build muscle, right? The way you build, you know how you build muscle. And I'm not looking to be, a bodybuilder or weight loss, but if you really want to build muscle, right, you push yourself. If you have a trainer, which I do now, a trainer will push you to the point of failure. So you push and you push and you push, and when you grow is when you get to that point where you can't go anymore. You've gotten beyond your comfort. And when you're working, the thing is, all growth occurs where? Outside your comfort zone. It doesn't occur within your comfort zone. Most people are looking for quick results, quick outputs. We're always frustrated with what we don't accomplish in a short period of time, but we're always amazed if we sustain effort even through that disappointment, what is accomplished over a long period of time. You look back at people who have success in whatever area, right? And you say, wow, they were overnight success. No, they weren't. They've been employing, they might have gotten lucky, but that's the lottery winner. Those don't happen very often. It's that there's a sustained effort that occurred. I didn't lose 65 pounds overnight. I lost it over a course of almost 2 years. But it was a sustained effort. Even when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see what I wanted to see. You with me? So that's what we got to do. So that's what we're trying to build. So first one is step one is brainstorm. Step two is comprehensive. I'm going to look at the book. Now look at the book and look at the areas. Like I said, if you've done the vision challenge or vision discovery workbook, now you know that going through this. Oh yeah, you only got the first part.
Yeah.
So sorry, Tiffany. I should have given you the whole book. So the comprehensive review is now going back. Once you've got at least 50, and again, don't stop at 50 if you haven't exhausted in other words, if you haven't reached your failure point, real failure point, not the gotten out of your comfort zone point, but you got the failure point. But get 50, and then go back to that list, as well as keep your mind open, and then go to each area of vision or areas that you want to focus on. And this is broken down the same way as a vision challenge, which is your body. So your body, there's some, anybody here look in the mirror and see things about their body they'd like to change. Okay, all right, so and that can be, I say body in terms, it can be health, right? It can be pain, it can be ability to do certain things, or get rid of medication. It can be in a lot of different things, but it doesn't matter what I put in there, it's what you put in there. Okay, so make sure you get into things, yourself. This is more like your person, who you are, who you show up as, your identity, the people, what is it that how do you want to feel? What do you want to, what's your mindset about things? Is it always good? Or is it always a struggle? What is it? So again, pick one or two things, but what we're gonna do is list 3 things in each of this area that are the most important, because you can't do everything in every area. But if you sit there and say, okay, here's the things that I did accomplish the last year in each of these areas from my list, and even things, and pull out your calendar and do some other things, because that also might help you remember, either for the list of 50 or this one, which you did, and go through the spiritual area, your connection to your higher source. I already outed myself as a Christian, but you don't have to be a Christian. Everybody's connected. If you're not connected to something outside yourself, an energy or whatever, or universe outside yourself, then you're probably sub-optimizing your capabilities. Is that fair to say? I mean, again, I'm not preaching, but you need to be. So, what are the 3 things relative to that? In your head. I actually was able to read through the Bible, which was one of my objectives this year, and I've actually been able to do a couple of things, in my spiritual connection. That's me. I'm not suggesting that's yours, because these don't matter. What mine doesn't matter to you. What you put on here matters to you. Your home, what is that? Where you're living. Did you downsize? I've gone through a journey not only of minimalization of my body, but minimalization of my living environment, cutting back on the stuff and the things that demand my attention, because what I say about your most valuable asset, right, is your time. And time you can't get back. So if I'm spending time ministering to stuff as opposed to my kids and my grandkids and my friends and my network and whatever, then that's taking away. So the things that I've accomplished relative to moving towards being less wrapped into my home, those are mine. Don't have to be yours, but those are the kinds of things. The finances, where are you at with your finances? Is that up or down? Maybe it was something you overcome this year. Maybe you had a financial setback. Maybe there's something that you're struggling with. But the thing is, you had wins there. You got through it. Bill jokingly said, well, one of my first wins is I'm still here, still standing at the end of the year. Maybe you still solve it at the end of the year. But that's still a win, right? Because I guarantee your brain's going, you're going out of, so you got to do that. What is the, your finances, work life, business operations, things that you've improved, your work-life balance or work life, how does that improve? Geography, that's one that kind of gets people hung up, but it's really experiencing the world. It kind of dovetails with experiences, but like if you traveled somewhere, you saw something, maybe you love living in Dallas and you just moved to a different part of Dallas, or maybe you, like in my case, went from a large house and a lot of stuff to a smaller, more compact, and it's more inspiring to me. Literally everything in your life, if you look at it and say this is inspiring or expiring, everything either inspires you or expires you. And so when you look at those things and say, I'm more inspired in this area, or I've done some things in this area that I feel better about, then that's fine. Nobody looks at this, by the way. If you're looking at this list, either one of these, step 1 or 2, and saying, well, what would my wife think about this? Or what would my husband think about this? Or what would my kids think about this? Or what would the guy across the table, the gal across the table, what would they think about this? And you're thinking about it the wrong way. This is yours. It belongs to you. This is your view of the world. You are unique. You have unique reasons. You have unique vision. And you have the right to judge what are wins. Okay? So make sure you do that. I'm not going to spend any time on that. Step 3 then, once you've done 1 and 2, remember, 3 follows 2, 2 follows 1, keep it in sequence, please. It won't be as effective if you don't keep it in sequence. Once you've got 1, once you've got 2, which is basically your brainstorm list, then as you look at the ones that get you the most excited about the accomplishments in the last year, which is 2, then 3 says, okay, I'm not going to boil the ocean here. Not going into 2020 with an unrealistic resolution, okay? I'm now going to look at 2020 macro, and I'm going to say, I've accomplished this much last year in these areas, these are things I'm happiest about, and in 2020, I'm going to continue on this one, I am going to fill this gap, and here's how I'm going to do it, and I know I can do it because I just proved that I can do it. You with me? So you're going to go through each of these same areas and come up with one goal, if you will, one that, as you say, at the end of 2020. So when we do this again, 2020 to 2021, it's hard to, we're in another new decade, right? But 2020, 2021, you're gonna look at 2020 and say, if I accomplished one thing in general, I'm healthier than I was at the end of 2019. And specifically, here's the metric, or here's the thing that I want to accomplish, the specific thing. Maybe it's, doesn't have to be I lost 65 pounds. It can be simply I began learning about what is a healthier lifestyle for me. That can be a specific thing. And I did that, okay? So that's a specific win. And if you go through here, you've got, and say, yes, I'm healthier than I was. Yes, I started on, because I did this specific thing. You've got, there's 16 of these, there's 32 things that at the end of the year. So you're already more than halfway to having your 50 if you do these things when we get to the end of the next year. Does that make sense? But I encourage you, don't be myopic. Don't say, okay, I don't care about my relationship with my wife, that's all set. I'm not looking to do anything there, I'm just gonna focus on my business. Big mistake, okay? Big mistake. Look at each area. Not trying to overwhelm you, I'm just saying in each area of your life, at any given point in time over the next year, you're gonna have the opportunity in that ideal day to move the dial on that specific area. Does that make sense? So put it down. Have an intent. Know that you're moving forward with building the bricks on your bridge from the future, so that when you get to 2020, you'll be able to look back into 2020, you'll be able to look back and say, yeah, I set out to do that in 2019. I did it. The other thing is, don't be afraid. If you put it down and didn't get to it, for you to look at, that's okay. Move it over to the next year, but the thing is, over time, they'll all start to guide you forward. The other thing I will tell you is this is easy to say, and I can guarantee you there's at least one person sitting in the room, one or two people say, I've heard this before. The question I would have for you is, did you do it? And did you put what you did into daily practice? Because when is life lived? It's lived every moment of every day. We're living our life right now. We already lived what we did yesterday. And we can't live what we're going to do tomorrow. So we're living what we do. So this is kind of like your prompts or your roadmap to say, this is what I'm going to have to claim at the end of 2020. If you do that, by the way, it's not static. If you're working with a coach, this would be a good tool to sit down with my mentor. I sit down and say, okay, and periodically we'll visit. And probably in the next year, I also give you a daily routine that actually will reinforce your progress on this, something that I've recently developed. So anyway, so that's kind of, what time is it? I don't even have a watch. It is 1 o'clock?
Almost.
Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, well, I'm not gonna ask for it. Well, are there any really burning questions? John?
There's certain areas where I would certainly consider them setbacks. So
Yeah.
how do you look at setbacks in a more positive way? Some things that you've done?
Well, setbacks are simply life. So the first thing is, setback is a setback. We all have them. We all have obstacles that come onto our bridge from the future. And so the main thing is, the way I recommend you look at those is to look at those honestly, acknowledge them, and then just say, how did I get past them? If I haven't got past that, then that becomes something, that obstacle, that you would say, okay, next year I'm going to make it around this obstacle, whatever it might be. Is that helpful?
Well, and I was thinking in terms of, that's not necessarily a win, or
Well, it is. The setback isn't a win, but how you got through the setback is a win. That's what you really. In other words, what did I do in spite of that setback? That's a win. Randy?
I was just gonna say, a setback is an opportunity for improvement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes if you're not aware and don't have a plan, we don't even realize the setback is there, or the setback becomes a defining moment. And you don't want anybody here want their setbacks to define them going forward?
No.
I don't think so. But you know what? If you don't take action to do things like what I'm suggesting here, they do. They do. They define that 90 to 95% of your goals. Okay? So that's fundamentally what we're trying to do here. The final slide I'll say is, remember I told you, Facebook Live, other people, that we don't have any networking meetings for the next 2 weeks. I am in town personally and accessible. And my clients know this because they get a weekly engagement with me that they're already paying for. But the thing is, if you want to have a one-on-one, you want to sit down and talk about this or go over it, or you want to go to next, I used to say, I go here and take the vision challenge and then get back with me. The reality of it is I've learned, one of my wins this year is I learned that doesn't work.
Nobody finishes the vision.
Nobody finishes it, nobody comes back. So what I'm telling you now is, if you don't feel inspired to start, or you don't know how to start, my website makes it very easy. It matches up against my calendar. Schedule an hour, and we can sit down. Everybody right now that are effectively, I'm seeing their lives change, that said to me, you know, you've changed my life a number of times already, are people that maybe needed to get through the beginning part of the process. This is easy. It's not something that's that hard to figure out. You can probably find other people that'll talk to you about 20 year interviews and stuff like that. But the key is find somebody, whether it's me or somebody else, that can get you started and get you moving and keep you on your daily path to making your 2020 end be the way you would design it to be. So at the end of 2020, you're looking at that and saying, whoa, what a good year, right? That's what I want. That's my vision for you in this room. So anyway, we got it. I know we're at 1 o'clock. I knew I was probably running out, but I wanted to make sure I got it to you. Like I said, no meetings for the men. Just get out into announcements, and you can applaud or boo when we're done. But men, we're meeting in this room starting in January, first Saturday. January 4th. So actually the first meeting available to Richardson Plano networkers is only for the men. And that's January 4th. Yeah, John's saying, yay, it's not time. No. So we're meeting in here. The reason why we moved from the Golden Corral to here isn't because necessarily they did anything wrong. These guys really want us here. And
Food's a hell of a lot better here.
And you can scale the amount of food in your payment rather than just having mass quantities of food. So that was good. If you went for quantity, that was a great place to go. The other thing is they've agreed for our men's breakfast. Maybe I can negotiate that as because we do consume a lot of coffee, if you buy food, your coffee is complimentary. Okay, for that meeting. Okay, so I'm just telling you that, anybody watching this. Any other announcements, questions? Again, I don't ever want a meeting to go without saying how grateful I am for each of you and your participation in this network and the fact that you're here and just that we've moved. One of my wins this year, I look around the room and I think of the people that I've gotten to know better. I've gotten to build more of a relationship. Every one of those for me is a win. Okay, I actually had some of you were on my list of the 50 things that I am grateful for. Tiffany, actually, you're on the list because I met you this year, and other people who I won't call everybody out. Mako's on my list actually, and Don's on my list, and so there's a few of you that are on my list, and Randy's on my list, and so I mean probably. If I went back and looked at my list off the top of my head, the ones of you that I've gotten to know, Zip, you're for sure on my list. John.
Which list?
The naughty list. He's on the naughty list. You're on the nice list.
How do I get on the, well, we'll talk,
You know
how do I get
I
on the
was
list? But I am coordinator of another group called Veterans and Passionate Patriots.
Right.
And we meet, we suspended
At an
the,
ungodly hour on Friday mornings. at
We're
the
suspending
original
the-
Pancake House and on
Suspending the meetings
Belmont.
the next meeting will be January the 10th, the last Friday, the Friday after, would be January the 10th, at the original Pancake House on Beltline Road. If you are a veteran, or you know of a veteran, or if you know a passionate patriot, we'd love to have you there.
Great, thanks. Okay, so veterans and passionate patrons. And you gotta get your meetup stuff fixed up so that we can get that or come
Well,
up with a Facebook event or
we've
something.
now transformed it over to Facebook.
Good, all right. Well, that's good. Yes.
I just run some 2020 calendars in there, wall calendars, if anybody wants one, just come on up. let me know.
Great. Any others? Thank you guys for being here. Oh, by the way, I also said for those, and Tiffany knows this, but if you really are suffering from withdrawal seeing me in a group setting, on Mondays from 6 to 8, every Monday, we meet at Port of Aroma. We call it Cheers, where everybody knows your name, to Port of Aroma.
That's you doing that Christmas Eve?
No, the 23rd.
23rd.
Yeah. Yeah, and the answer is yes. We're doing it next Monday, the 30th, the day before New Year's Eve. So we are gonna do it. Now, it's a cool group because I never know who's gonna show up, but we run about 25, 30 people, and it's a different group every time, and it's a moving group, and I think we already have like 70 people on the roster for that group, and we've only been doing it for about 4 or 5 weeks. So it's a pretty cool thing. So anyway, if you're inclined to do that, or you wanna see what that's like over the next couple of weeks, because you're not coming here, that would be cool. All right, anyway, give yourselves a hand. This was a great day. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Facebook Live audience. Remember, request if you want the workbook, and I'll send you a PDF if you give me your email.